Welcome to the Association 100 podcast. The A100 podcast is an extension of our Association 100 bi-monthly newsletter that focuses on best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies and tactics that work in the world of associations. The podcast will feature meaningful conversations with association professionals across the country, taking a deeper dive into trending topics, offering insights that both inform and inspire. Welcome back to the A100 podcast. I'm Colleen Gallagher, joined by my co-host Keebney Hewitt. We are broadcasting from ASAE's annual conference this week, and we're so excited to welcome Lisa Sands of the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Lisa, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Colleen. It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. In our pre-episode prep, we shared a few emails back and forth, and you sent me a note that said you had left a previous position and spent 8 years in the hinterlands before returning back to full-time permanency. And I saw that and thought, I want to know everything about this. So tell me, what were the factors that went into making that decision?
I was burned out at my job. It is a nonprofit association, which will stay unnamed. And I just felt I needed a reset, and financially I was able to do. And so the initial plan was to just take a few months off and then get back into the game. But when I was going to do, just didn't feel ready. And took a few years off, and then when I was starting to look for a job again, and I was temping on and off, I ran the obstacles. And I know the obstacles to me were, I am older, I'm not working full time, and have been out, had a gap in my resume. And those three factors, a perfect storm. And so I really been temping, mostly on, a little off, most of those last few years until I started working again in October 2022, full time.
So how did this experience shape you?
Yeah, as difficult as it was, I would not trade it. I would go through it again because I think it definitely made me a stronger person. It definitely made me a better person. It made me realize things about myself, what I can and can't do. It was, sometimes there were some real lows there. I had moved to Ohio for a few months to live with my sister because I just was not working, had no money. And you can get through what you think you can't get through.
That's so powerful because I think, in the last few years especially, have been really tough for so many people. Yes. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly. That's what I tell people. You got to do what you got to do. I've always been guilty of, letting the clutter get to my head, and it's sometimes you just got to get away out of the four walls and just really think outside the box, think about what you really want to do in life, especially when you're older and you see things going down the road. So it really kind of helps shape you mentally in that way.
Yeah, for sure. A career break for a lot of people is very daunting. You talked about some of the challenges coming back. How do you maintain your skills during a career break, stay connected to the field you're in? Any tips there?
I didn't have my CAE. I've always thought about getting my CAE or my CMP, and I didn't either one. And I got to admit, I got a bit lazy during that time. But temping really helped because I got to learn new software, which you can put on your resume. So there's a lot of new things on there. A lot of web editing, different association software management systems, things of that nature. So just really keeping up, and there's some universities in Chicago I worked for 2 or 3 times, so it helped keep me afloat and just helped me do things I hadn't done before.
That's so cool. Did you have a favorite temp job during that time, or a unique one?
Boy, I was going to say there's so many. No, I think that each one of them, I was working with contracts, with meetings, scientific meetings, just a management. It just really ran the gamut. So I really don't, I've thought of that question. I don't have a favorite.
I once had a temp job where I valet parked at a fundraiser for a public official, and I'm not great at driving. I don't know why they let me do this. I was young. People are just handing me keys to these fancy cars, and I was like, great.
It sounded exciting
It
anyway.
was a lot of fun, yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. How did you approach the process of re-entering the workforce? You mentioned taking these temp jobs. What other strategies did you use to get back out there and get back into full-time permanency?
The number one thing for me, I've always, in my mind, I've always been a horrible interviewee. That was one big weakness of mine. And so I just really thought about, you got to go in there with confidence. You got to go in there knowing why you want this job. You just like laser focus. And I think that really helped me a lot, quite a bit, the last year or two.
Yeah, I think especially with COVID too, some people probably have gaps in their resume either by choice or not because of that. And obviously brushing up on interview skills and that kind of thing is extremely helpful when we're in this virtual and hybrid world, and that kind of stuff may not seem as natural anymore. So that's super. I think that really will resonate with our audience as well. Is there any other advice you have that you would offer to people who might be considering a similar journey or thinking about taking time off?
Have a plan in place. I will admit I was so burned out, I really don't think I was in a good place mentally to really map it out and say, okay, I'm going to focus to be able to start looking again or make this detour, whatever it may be, at this juncture. And I didn't do that. I just was like meandering down the path and aimlessly. So I think that's, just really have a laser focus of what you want to do, have a plan, and try to stick to it. And if there's some little detour along the way, don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. I think that would be especially helpful, just to have a roadmap to take you through it and make sure you get all those things.
It's just like a project. They don't always go to plan, as we all know.
Like a little agenda.
Yes, exactly. Not set in stone.
And then going off of that, what are some key lessons that you learned from this journey that you think would maybe help someone else who might be considering this or thinking about taking time off? What are your big takeaways from that experience?
Don't be hard on yourself. It's easy to beat up on yourself when things aren't going right. I would not do that. Stay focused. Again, like I said, have a plan and try to stick to it. If you don't know what you're wanting to do or you feel like the plan's not working out, reach out and talk to someone. Try to find a mentor. I think perhaps that would have helped me a lot if I'd maybe had a mentor, just to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be someone in the same field. Sometimes it's good to have someone outside the box that can look at it objectively.
That's smart. Someone give you different opinions and help you look at it from a different perspective.
Right.
That's really smart.
Yeah, that always helps when you just get that outside perspective. Because also we're so hard on ourselves, and sometimes you need the friend to say what you would say to a friend.
Exactly. I used to always want to be perfect when I was growing up. My mom would say, "No one's perfect," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm trying." It's world doesn't work that way, so sometimes you got to find out the hard way.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. So I'll have to admit that I had to Google what a nurse licensure compact was. It was not something I was familiar with.
Me either.
Can you tell us more about what that is, how it impacts the profession?
Yes, the Nurse Licensure Compact, the revised one, started in 2000. And what it is, if you're a nurse, let's say you're a nurse in Kentucky. I grew up on the Indiana border in western Kentucky, shout out. And let's say I want to go across the border and work in Indiana, 30 miles away. I would have to have a license in Kentucky and a license in Indiana, and I'm not too far from Illinois. I could get a license there.
Oh, wow.
Nurse Licensure Compact, if your state is in the compact, you have one multi-state license for all those states. Currently, we have 41 states, jurisdictions, because we do have Guam and Virgin Islands.
Oh, interesting.
There's 41 jurisdictions currently. Of course, we're trying to get all of them. And it just really helps with, if you're a travel nurse, all you have to do is have one. If you're in telehealth, you just have to have one. But there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of misinformation as far as how it works. It's on the driver. It's basically the driver's license model.
Okay.
Your primary state of residence, you're here, but you can go and drive or you can go and practice any of these states as long as it's a multi-state and it's under the compact.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense in terms of just being able to have quality healthcare professionals, and
especially with COVID and people, staff shortages and people traveling and people moving to other states. It's so necessary. And a lot of the opposition with the remaining states, including my own state, is a lot of union opposition. It's a lot of the big union states. So we're trying to get each one step by step.
Keep working on them.
Exactly.
Awesome. Tell me what's in store for the year ahead. Tell us more about your goals and how you're working to continue supporting nurses' mobility and practices nationwide.
We exhibit in the spring and in the fall at several nursing healthcare conferences, and just really getting the word out, because some people I have no idea what the compact is, and I believe it is the Otis compact. There are compacts for counseling, physical therapists, but they come to us for advice. But just really getting out there and saying this is what the compact is. This is a lot of the misinformation is based on this, and then just really trying to set them straight. Because some people are like, oh, it sounds familiar. No, I have no idea what it is, and oh, it's not in my state. What can I do? It's just all over the place. So just clearing up a lot of misconceptions about it would be so helpful.
Yeah, that's so interesting. We'll have to keep an eye out for it in the news now.
I know, yeah.
Oh, it is in the news, definitely, yes.
Awesome. Okay, so to wrap up our episode today, we have some fun lightning questions to ask you. So these are random and not at all related to association work. But the first one is, what is your Starbucks order? I see you have a coffee here. So what is your
It's not Starbucks,
your go-to?
full transparency. It is a grande blonde latte.
Okay, that sounds delicious. And then next lightning question, if you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still work?
No and no.
I feel like we could have guessed that from the the previous questions too. What's the last show you binge watched?
Daisy Jones and the Six.
Okay. What's a food you can't live without?
Sushi, brown rice.
Ooh,
Good one.
that's a good one. And finally, what is your bucket list travel destination? Somewhere you'd love to go?
So many places. The Champagne region of France.
Ooh.
I love Champagne. Doesn't
speak
seem to
to
go
you
to my,
about
goes
that.
to the head of a lot of people, like Cabernet goes to my head. A lot of people can't drink like sparkling wine, but I would love to go there. Just the wine chemistry and the process of making wine to me is so interesting. Yes, the benefit is getting the drink at the end, but I think that would be just a fascinating region to visit.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great destination.
Yes,
I'm going
we'd
to
love
add
to
that
go
to my
there.
travel list. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on the A100 today. Certainly really valuable takeaways for our listeners. We appreciate your time here.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Association 100 podcast, brought to you by the A100 publishing team, powered by Onward and Upward Marketing and Communications. You can subscribe to the Association 100 podcast on Spotify so you'll never miss out, or listen via our website at theassociation100.com. Follow us for all the latest insights and trends impacting the world of associations. Thanks for tuning in.